Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on and we will get started for today. Hope everybody's having a great week. Everybody's making the most of your day, making it your best day ever. You know, a lot of that is all about your attitude when you wake up in the morning. I tell people all the time, when you start out your day thinking that you're going to have a bad day and putting that out in the atmosphere, 9 times out of 10, that's the kind of day you're going to have. I'm learning to speak what I want to see. And so I speak that my day is prosperous. I speak that my day is something that's going to be helpful to somebody else, not just about making money. Anybody can make money, but I want to make a difference. So when I get up in the mornings, I'm thinking to myself, okay, how can I make a difference today? I know how to make money. I know I've got to go to this job. I know how to do my job, but I don't want to just do my job. I want to make a difference in somebody's life. I want to make somebody smile today. I want to make somebody say, I'm glad I talked to you today, or I'm glad that I saw you today. That's important to me. That's one of my personal goals. I don't want to just wake up and be in my own little world and everything be just about me. I want to be able to touch other people, and have them say, I'm glad I ran into you today. I really needed to talk to you today, or I really needed that hug today. So those are the things that are truly important to me, and it really matters to me that I just make my day mean something. I try to make my time mean something. And I hope you guys are doing the same. If you're going to have to be up and be out anyway, why don't we, make it the best we can possibly make it. Today, we're going to talk about a topic called Don't Take It Personal. We want to talk about oversensitivity. People that take things to heart a little bit too easy, or they wear their heart on their sleeves. So that's what Don't Take It Personal is about. Ask yourself, are you overly sensitive? Does a setback or a disappointment, does it temporarily devastate you? Does it destroy you? Does it completely throw you off track? And if it does, then you may be taking things a little bit too personally. And so we want to really work on that, because life is a series of ups and downs. Things change. Life, you have to be able to roll with the punches, as they say, because the punches are going to come. And that's why when things are going good and everything's smooth and quiet, you better enjoy that time, because sooner or later something's going to come up that you may not like, or something that you may have to handle, or something that you were not prepared for. And you can't allow yourself to be just totally thrown off by that. And that's where we're at with this. We want to be the kind of people that, yes, this happened, but how did I handle it? I did the best that I could. Shake it off and move on. So don't take it personally. Everything's not meant to be taken personally. And I notice that sometimes we create our own misery by taking things too personally. Sometimes we almost invent a problem where there's not a problem. Sometimes we are already in our preconceived notion about how something is going to go, and as soon as somebody says something wrong, hey chick, or says something you don't like, first thing you say is, I knew I shouldn't have went, or I knew it was going to be like this, I knew it was going to be like that. You already had in your mind what it was going to be like, so you were just waiting for somebody to confirm that for you. So you have to be careful about taking things so personally. That's how those misunderstandings happen. And then sometimes in life, things need to fall apart sometimes in your life just for you to get to the good stuff. Because sometimes we get stagnant, we get comfortable, we settle. All of that stuff happens. And sometimes God has to shake things up, or send people in our lives to shake things up, in order for us to do better. Hey, Yvette. Yeah, in order for us to do better, that's right. You have to find a balance. Absolutely. Because in life, there will be good and bad. Nobody is exempt. It doesn't matter how much money you got. It doesn't matter if you're married, you're single. You're going to face bad and good. And a lot of times you got to learn how to shake some stuff off, get up and dust yourself off and try again. You can't spend your time waddling in what didn't work. And sometimes we get stuck there. And then we look back and we've wasted months and years, crying over stuff that didn't even matter. Sometimes we look back and we think about, how did we let that devastate us so much? We think about a situation and we say, that was not even that big of a deal. Why did I react the way that I did? So what we want to try to do is try to get some control of ourselves and try to get a mindset of good is going to happen, bad is going to happen. It's going to all balance itself out. But it's all about what you do with what happens to you that matters. And sometimes we set ourselves up for failure by being overly sensitive. Sometimes people will be talking, having a good time. We've all experienced this. Having a good time, and then one person says something, then all of a sudden, that overly sensitive person, they're not laughing anymore. It's not funny to them anymore because they took it to heart when everybody was just playing and having a good time and just enjoying themselves. We all know people that are overly sensitive that we have to be very careful around, or we have to tiptoe around. And a lot of times those people aren't the most enjoyable people to be around, because you sometimes feel like, I can't even really be myself around you, simply because I got to be careful because I don't want to make you mad. I don't want to upset you, So those things, we need to try to get out of that pattern of behavior of being overly sensitive. And if we find that that's where we are in life, or that's an issue that we have, we need to try to get to the root of why we're so sensitive about a certain thing. A lot of times it stems back to a root, to something that has nothing to do with the people around you now. Sometimes it's that unresolved stuff from your past that makes you so stinking sensitive all the time. But you need to deal with that. That's nobody's responsibility to deal with your past but you. So if you find that you're an overly sensitive person, you're always getting misunderstandings, this, that, and the other, you need to sit down and try to figure out, why am I acting this way? When did this start? How did I become this type of person? And you need to deal with those things from your past so that you can get better. Okay? And then sometimes that person that rejects you, or losing that job, it may not be what you needed in the first place. Sometimes those things are allowed simply because it makes you dig a little bit deeper. It makes you go a little bit harder. And you finally get to the place where your full potential is being used. Sometimes that's not a bad thing. So you don't take it personal, when people reject you, or when people don't want to be in a relationship with you. Sometimes that's God's protection. He's protecting you from that person. Maybe, in the beginning things were good and it was looking like, y'all were connecting. But then that person does what? Shows you their true colors. And then what do? We start feeling bad about ourselves. What's wrong with me? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not this, that, and the other? No, that was God's protection. He let you see what you needed to see before you ended up in an emotional situation with that person and devastating and hurting yourself. So God sometimes will allow people to reject you just for your own protection. And also with those jobs, sometimes we are working jobs that are literally killing us. And something happens and we may lose that job. It may be a layoff or downsizing, or you may make a mistake or something like that because you're working too hard all the time and not getting enough rest. Sometimes losing that job is God's way of saying there's something better out there for you. So don't always take it so personal. Don't get down on yourself. Just understand, if I lost that, then God must have something better for me, because He doesn't let you lose something good without giving you something better. And that's something you just really have to believe deep down in your heart. Okay? And it helps to remember in life, everything is temporary. I know nothing that is permanent in this life. Not on this side. There's nothing permanent. So when you understand that, things will be how they are for right now, but things will change. And you have to prepare your mind to say, I'm enjoying things the way they are right now, but I do know at some point it will change. Sometimes it changes for the better and sometimes it doesn't. But you have to always remember everything in this life on this side is temporary. So enjoy the good while you got the good stuff going. Enjoy your children while they're young, because sooner or later they're going to be to that point where they don't need you as much, where they're independent, where they can go off on their own. And then you'll be looking back as a parent saying, man, I miss when they were little. I miss those days when. Cherish the time that you're in right now, because 10 years from now, you're going to be looking back wishing for today. A lot of times we fuss about and complain about where we are today. How many times have you looked back and said, man, I was complaining. I'm mad at myself for complaining. I had it good and didn't even realize it. I know I've said that many times about how good I had it, and all I was doing was trying to move on to that next thing and hurry my life away to move forward because I thought something better was in front of me. But we have to take time to enjoy where we are right now. And that's the mistake we make. It's nothing wrong with planning for your future. There's nothing wrong with having a vision for your future and trying to work that thing out. But don't forget in the midst of that to enjoy where you are right now. Because that's the realm that you're in, the right now. It's okay to dream and plan, but don't dream and plan so much that you despise where you are right now. We got to be grateful, you guys, for where we are, because honestly, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So learn to be content with where you are right now. Dream big, do what you got to do, but remember to be grateful. Remember to be grateful for where you are right now. And then remember that your current situation is not your final destination. If you're going through something right now, or if things aren't as good as you want them to be, ask God, where he wants you to go, what he wants you to do. Because sometimes you're in a holding pattern for a reason. Sometimes things aren't working out the way you want them to for a reason. Again, that may be God protecting you from something you can't even see. Or it may be God giving you a chance to grow up a little bit. We take it personal when we see people moving on and making money and making all these moves, nice cars and all this and that. That may not be for you, boo. You're supposed to celebrate that other person. You're not supposed to be sitting back trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Why don't I have what they have? Stop taking it so personal. That was for them, and God has something different for you. So you have to accept that and understand that it may not be the same thing that she's got. You may not live in the big house on the hill. That may not be your story, but God has something just for you. And we have to learn, you guys, not to sweat the small stuff all the time. You can worry yourself to death over things that you cannot change. And you have to be so careful about not taking everything so personal, because, when you do that, you make people want to avoid you. When you've got somebody that's quick to get at you, as soon as you say something, you're going to avoid that person because you don't want no drama. And that person becomes a lonely person if that's the way you deal with people. You always ready. You always ready. She better not say nothing. You always ready. You know what? You're going to be a very lonely person because nobody is attracted to somebody that they have to tiptoe around. Okay? So don't take it personal all the time. When people don't agree with you, that's one thing. Don't take that personally. Matter of fact, find out why they don't agree with you. You might actually learn something, instead of being offended because they didn't take your side about something, or if they didn't like your idea. Find out why they didn't want your idea, or find out why they didn't like what you were proposing. It might be something you never thought of. But if you're taking it personal and you're all in your feelings, you're not trying to hear what nobody has to say. And therefore, you're not progressing at all, because you're more about, she didn't agree with me. Everything's about she's against me or he's against me. And that's not always true. Sometimes that idea is not a good idea. But if you never ask why, you'll never learn, why they disagree with you. Another thing to not take personal is when you don't fit in a group. Every place is not for you to be. Every place is not for you to be. Everybody is not your group, not your village. Just because it's popular, or just because all the cool girls are over there, or these are the ladies that's got all these pictures on Facebook, this, that, and the other, that doesn't mean that that's for you. And so don't take it personal when you don't fit in. Just understand that that's not for you and God has something else. And maybe there was something in that group or with that group of people that was going to push you backwards. Because God always wants us moving forward. He always wants us excelling and getting greater and greater and being better and better. And maybe there was something with that group that was going to take you back the other way, or was going to stunt your growth, or stop you from being the person that you need to be. So don't take it personal. And don't take it personal when you're not somebody's cup of tea. You know, we go out on these dates and stuff, you guys, and while everybody is trying to put their best physical appearance forward, you know, everybody's hair done, nails done, guys are looking good, smelling good. When you get to talking to them, sometimes they're not your cup of tea. And sometimes you're not theirs. So don't take it personal. Just be thankful that you were able to see past this outside stuff and be able to see, okay, no, I don't think me and him are a good fit. I don't think we're going to get along. Or vice versa. He may say the same thing about you. You know, she's really not my type. You know, we got to get past looking at the outside. And we talked about that last week when we was talking about, you know, interviewing people and good communication. You know, you have to get past this surface stuff, because this surface stuff is only going to last so long. And that surface stuff is not what's going to keep a relationship together in the first place. So don't be upset and don't take it personal. Don't get an attitude when you're not somebody's cup of tea. Even in friendships, you know, some people you just can't be friends with, and some people just can't be friends with you. And that's okay. That doesn't make them a bad person. That doesn't make you a bad person. Y'all just don't mesh. Y'all don't click. And instead of talking about each other, just take it as, okay, we just, you know, it's just not meant for us to be friends. Don't take it personal. Everybody can't be your friend. Everybody can't be in your inner circle, and you can't be in theirs. And that's okay. That is okay. And then don't take it personal when you outgrow somebody. You know, a lot of times people get mad when you're changing in life. And especially with those friendships, you know, sometimes the person that you're friends with or that group of friends that you had 10 years ago, they don't fit into your life right now. And it's not that you have anything against them or that you don't love them. It's just they can't go where you're going. Or they just don't fit in with the person that you're developing into. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't take it personal. And vice versa. When somebody outgrows you, don't get mad. And don't start talking about them and saying they were never your friend, they were fake, and this, that, and the other. No, it's not that. You have to allow yourself to grow, and you have to allow other people to grow. And sometimes that means leaving you behind. And that's okay. It has nothing to do with what y'all had before wasn't real. You know, that's not the case. It's just that we're constantly growing and evolving. That's what we're supposed to do. And sometimes those same people are not what you need in your life right now. And you're not what they need. So let's not take that so personal, you guys. And just respect people and wish them well. And let them know that you're here for them if they ever need you. So let's stop taking it so personal. And another thing we shouldn't take so personally is when somebody doesn't know how to love you. You know, I had to understand that for myself, because I've been in some failed relationships, and it really hurt me, because I'm just like, how hard is it for someone to treat me right? How hard is it for you to understand I like this? How hard is it for you to treat me a certain way, blah, 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 blah. And I had to come to the conclusion that sometimes it's not their fault. They were never shown how to love somebody. They didn't have it modeled in front of them. You know, sometimes society puts so much pressure on people to act a certain way. Everybody's in this mode of, I'm not trying to be, you know, taken advantage of, or I'm made to look like a fool, this, that, and the other. You know, and when you come with that kind of mentality, your relationship is going to be limited anyway. Love is foolish, especially romantic love. It's foolish. You know, you're going to do things and say things, and you take a chance on being hurt. But when you come in with your guard up, you know, talking about, you know, I'm not going to be hurt like that again, and I'm not going to let somebody do me like that again, that other person doesn't have a chance. They don't stand a chance. And it's a wonder why they don't know how to love you, you don't even know how to love yourself sometimes. And you sure don't know how to love them. So you got two people together that don't know how to love. And don't know how to really treat one another simply because of what's happened in their past. So we have to learn to forgive people and don't take it so personal, that somebody didn't know how to love you. Sometimes you're just different from what they're used to. You were a level up from what they were used to, and they just weren't ready for you. And sometimes it takes them growing up. And sometimes you needed to grow up. It works both ways. So don't take it so personal when somebody doesn't know how to love you. Just look at that as, what was my part in it? What could I have done to make it easier for them to love me? What could I have done to kind of help them, to understand who I really was and what I really wanted? Because communication is a two-way street, you guys. If you never talk to somebody and let them know that you're not feeling love, if you didn't sit down with them and say, hey, this is what makes me happy, this is what makes me smile, these are the things that mean the most to me, that really make me feel loved. If you're not having those conversations, it's kind of hard to be mad at somebody that really didn't know how to love you, because y'all didn't sit down and talk about those things. And as much as we want to believe people can read our minds, you guys, they can't. You've got to open this thing. You open this mouth for everything else. Open it up and help somebody learn how to love you, because that's not something anybody's going to know unless you really teach them how to love you. So don't take it personal, especially if you didn't do your part. Okay? And then don't take it personal when there's a bad situation or a situation that you walked into that you didn't start. Sometimes we walk into relationships, they already got drama from baby mamas and all kinds of stuff, and bad blood on that side of the family, and kids bad and acting up and stuff. Don't take it personal. You just got to decide if you want to deal with that. Because that wasn't something that you started, that wasn't something that's in your control, and you have to decide. If you want to be in the midst of that. And if you get in the midst of that, I had to learn the hard way, because I hopped in the midst of that and I had to give it over to God, because it was more than I could handle, and I cried and cried and prayed and cried. And you know what? I jumped into a frying pan that was not for me. I jumped into somebody else's mess, and I had to learn my lesson from that. And now I understand, when I see those things, don't ignore those things. Because those things are more than a notion, and it's something you're going to have to deal with if you proceed with that relationship. So don't take it personal, when you didn't do anything wrong, or that situation was already in play before you came along. Just use that, what you see and what you hear, as a way of deciding if you want to deal with that or not. Make sure it's worth it if you jump into that. Okay? And let's talk about 9 effects of taking things too personally. What happens? 9 effects of being overly sensitive. These are the things that can happen. You can block your blessing. By being overly sensitive or taking things too personally, sometimes you don't hear well. And sometimes people that are trying to help you, you may not like what they're saying. And so instead of you heeding to what they're saying and trying to learn some things, you decide, it hurt your feelings. So you're done. You walk away. You just let go of things because things didn't go your way. You block your own blessing by being overly sensitive. Sometimes there are people that can't be corrected when they're doing something wrong, or you're trying to help them move on to a better level, or help them do better in whatever it is they're trying to do, and they can't take your constructive criticism because they're too busy crying and mad because you said something. Even though you weren't trying to hurt them, you were trying to help them get better. Hey, Nancy. And everybody can't handle that. And so you have to look at yourself and say, you know what? Did I overreact to that situation? Sometimes we block our own blessing. And, when people see that they can't correct you, guess what? They tend to try to avoid you. So that person might have really been the one that could help you get to your next level. But because you overreacted, you blocked your own blessing. That person don't even want to deal with you anymore. So understand, you can block your own blessing by taking things the wrong way, being quick to be offended. That spirit of offense, you guys, is so stinking real. It will have you highly sensitive about everything. So y'all have to pray about that spirit of offense. If people been getting on your nerves and seem like everybody has something negative to say to you and you just feeling all this like everybody's against you, that's that spirit of offense has taken over. And you have to pray against that thing. Because one thing about it, you cannot walk around with your heart on your sleeves. You cannot walk around being a person that nobody can say anything to, nobody can correct. Because you know what? You're going to end up on the bottom. You're going to end up on the bottom because you learn from criticism. You learn from people coming to you saying, hey, I know a better way. I like how you're doing that, but you're not using all of your talent, all of your ability. And instead of being offended by that, try to find out how you can be better. Ask them to help you do better. But watch out for that spirit of offense. It's meant to block your blessing. And then the effects of taking things too personally can ruin your friendships. A lot of times, our friends, they have a whole lot of patience with us, you guys. But when you're always that whiny friend and everything has to go your way, and if somebody decides, oh, we don't want to go to the mall because you suggested it, and then you got your lip out the whole time that you're with everybody, feeling like, nobody wants to do what you want to do, this, that, and the other. It can't be just about you, boo. You'll ruin friendships. Your friends will stop even wanting to deal with you. Because if everything's got to be the Karen show every time they're with you, and they have to be careful and tiptoe around you and can't tell you when they don't want to do something you suggest to keep you from getting mad, you're going to ruin your friendships, or you're going to end up with fake friendships where they do whatever you want to do with you, but they're going to spend time with other people they can be more comfortable with and be more free with. So you will ruin your friendships being overly sensitive. And then the third thing is being overly sensitive or taking things too personal can lead to anxiety or depression. One thing I'm learning is we stress over stuff sometimes, and I do that too, but I'm trying so hard to do better. We stress over things more than we should. Sometimes it's just a little thing, and we can blow it up into a mountain. And then we get all anxious about it. Somebody can make a comment, and instead of you just saying, oh, okay, all right, I see your point. Now you're all stressed out and anxious and worried about it and this, that, and the other. We do those things to ourselves, and sometimes the comment may have just been, yeah, I like that, but next time, turn it up a little bit, or next time, do it this way. And then all of a sudden now you're thinking the whole thing is wrong. I got to fix the whole thing. You can make yourself overly anxious, or you'll go into that depressive state when someone tries to give you constructive criticism, and now you're depressed. You don't want to do it anymore. You're sad, you're crying, and you're thinking, okay, I'm not good enough, and this, that, and the other. But that's when you're overly sensitive. You have to be able to allow other people to critique what you're doing and give you some pointers to help you do better. And number 4, you'll be on frequent emotional roller coasters. You'll be up and you'll be down when you're overly sensitive. Like I said before, whole group, everybody's laughing, having a good time, and then somebody say one little joke about you, and now all of a sudden none of the jokes are funny. You're mad, you're walking off, you're getting your purse, you're ready to go. And it was not meant in a hurtful way, it was meant in a joking way. You're overly sensitive. Those crying spells, thinking nobody likes you, this, that, and the other. You're going to be like that when you're overly sensitive. So just understand that's an imbalance that you're dealing with. And then number 5, people would rather just fluff you or almost lie to you than tell you the truth because they know you can't handle the truth. They don't want to tell you what they really feel about something simply because they know it's going to ruin the whole trip, the whole day. You're going to be mad at them for a long time. This, that, and the other. Sometimes People would rather just lie and say what you want to hear just to keep the peace because they don't want the drama. And that means you're overly sensitive when somebody can't tell you the truth. You know, men go through this all the time when women try on something. They say, "How do I look, babe?" And if that man could really tell you what he thought, he would. But a lot of times they say, "You look good, you look good." And they don't even mean it because they don't want any drama. They don't want any problems. But nobody should have to do that for you. You should have enough confidence in yourself to say, "Okay, it don't look good. I got too much fat roll on my stomach, babe. Yeah, it doesn't look good. You know, I'm going to try on something else." It shouldn't be a matter of I'm mad, I'm storming off, I'm crying just because somebody told you the truth. Number 6, we get labeled as dramatic when you're overly sensitive, when you take things too personally. You're drama queens or drama king, when you overreact to things, when the simplest thing sends you over the edge. You're labeled a drama king or a drama queen. And number 7, poor understandings and misunderstandings come from taking things too personally. Someone can say something and it's all about how you're willing to interpret it that day as to if you get the right understanding, the proper understanding. And the word always says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. If you think somebody's insulting you, find out, get a clear understanding. If you think someone is belittling you, get a clear understanding. Ask them, what did you mean by that? Why did you say that? Explain to me what you mean by that. Ask for an explanation. Get a clear understanding of how they're coming at you with something instead of assuming the worst. Sometimes you just need to get a little more clear understanding, which requires a little bit more conversation. Number 8, you miss out on deep, heartfelt conversations and intimacy because people can't tell you the truth. They can't tell you how they really feel because they're so worried about making you cry. They're so worried about hurting your feelings. Some people have stayed in relationships simply because they don't want to hurt the other person. But in the end, you always end up hurting the other person. You prolong the pain, you prolong the suffering because you were trying to keep from hurting them when honestly it would have been better if you just told them the truth and got it over with and ripped the Band-Aid off. But when you're overly sensitive, people have to worry about those things. And it keeps you from getting to a deep level of intimacy if one person is always having to walk on eggshells and be careful not to say this, not to say that. You can never get to that level that you need to be. Because intimacy, you're to that point where they know you, you know them. They know how you say stuff. They don't misinterpret, sentences, and they don't misinterpret your body language, this, that, and the other. But a person that's overly sensitive is number 9. They have a paranoia about them. They always think there's a hidden negative meaning behind stuff. We all know people that will come over to you, they done heard the conversation or they saw somebody do something and say, "You know why she did that, don't you?" You know why she said that, don't you? We all know people like that. They're always looking for that hidden, negative meaning behind what somebody does or says. Don't be that person. So let's move on to what we should take personally. First thing is our attitude. We should be the first ones to check ourselves. When we know we're in a bad mood or our attitude is bad, nobody should have to check you but you. Check yourself. And if you know you're in a bad mood, keep to yourself until you can get yourself together. The next one is our neighborhood, our surroundings. We should take that personally. We should want, where we live to look nice. We should want our neighborhoods to look nice. How hard is it for you if you see some trash in somebody's yard to go pick up that trash and get it out just to keep your neighborhood looking nice? How hard is it for you to, go outside and sit outside and kind of watch those neighborhood kids and make sure that they're safe? You know, even if you don't have children, there's nothing wrong with you sitting out on the porch, just keeping an eye out just to keep our children safe. You know, your neighborhood should be very important to you because that's where you live. When you come home from a hard day, or even if you're retired or what have you, that's your safe place. That is your home. That's your domain. And you should want everything about it to be nice. You should want everything to be inviting about your neighborhood and about your home. So you should take that personally. And then another thing you should take personally is how our children see us. You know, that is so important, how our children see us. You know, I may not care how anybody else in the world sees me, but when it came to my children, it was everything to me that my children were not embarrassed by me. It was everything to me that my children didn't hear negative things on the street about their mom. It was everything to me that my children had somebody they could look up to, somebody they could trust, somebody that they knew was only going to do what I thought was best for them. That's important. You should take that personally, and you should make a point of making sure our children see us as something good. Our children see us as a safe place. Our children see us as wisdom, because who else are they going to turn to when they need wisdom outside of turning to God? God put us here over those children so that we would have something to give them. And our wisdom is one of those important things that our children will need for the rest of their lives. They never get too old to need their mom and dad's wisdom. Okay? Another thing we should take personally is how we represent ourselves in public. You know, if you're going to try to be a professional in the workplace and be respected, it does matter how you act outside of work. It does matter how you act on social media. You can't be wilding out outside of the job and on social media and then want people at work to respect you as a lady, as somebody worthy of respect. You have to respect yourself first. So it is important that we live a respectable life with some dignity if we're going to want people to try to respect us. Okay? So that is a personal thing that we should take personal. And we should all be moving forward, trying to level up, trying to be better than we were yesterday. Take that personally, because that matters. You don't want to look back 10 years and see that you're in the same place that you were 10 years ago. Something went wrong. If you're not doing anything better, if you're not growing, if you're not prospering, if you're not making some kind of difference in somebody's life, something went wrong, and you need to sit down and figure that out and try to get back on the path so that you can move forward. So those are some things that you should take personally. Now, my final thought, you guys, is before you give something or someone all your time and all your energy and effort, make sure, number one, make sure it actually affects you. When you want to jump into a situation, make sure it affects you. And you're just not jumping into somebody else's fire. That's important. Because sometimes we put our nose where it shouldn't be. And we get our nose burnt a little bit because we should have stayed out of that. So be careful about where you're spending your time and your energy and giving your effort. Number two, make sure it's something you can actually control. Something that you can actually make a difference in before you give it all your time, your energy, and your effort. And lastly, make sure it's worth it. Make sure it's worth it. And remember, you guys, don't take everything personally, because life is too short for that. Some things you just gotta let roll off your back and understand. Don't let them see you sweat. You know, sometimes people are assigned to you just to make you sweat. Don't give them the pleasure of seeing you sweat. Go higher in your thinking, in your spirit, and know that you can soar above anything. Thanks, you guys, for watching today. God bless you guys. Please stay safe out there. Stay COVID-free. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.